Welcome back. The second day of the Voices of the New World Forum kicked off in Caracas, Venezuela, with debates focused on the right to truth, peace, and self-determination of peoples. This Wednesday, more than 220 delegates and communicators from various Global South countries gathered to exchange knowledge and experiences on confronting the media blockade. The meeting paid tribute to the victims of the genocide in Palestine and highlighted the challenges journalism faces amid an algorithmic dictatorship. According to the agenda, the meeting will conclude with the presentation of the Alliance of Journalists for Communication in the Global South founding document.
Is the cause of the Republic of the Bolivarian Venezuela and the cause of the whole humanity, the cause for Palestine. Today, this humanity faces multiple threats, multiple challenges, and of course, it has been just attacked by the issue of communications and the dissemination of truth, which, you know that you have been fighting for transmitting, for disseminating the truth, for disseminating what it really happens, for comprehending the situations we faced. And it is not a coincidence that you have been summoned to this revolutionary Caracas, this Bolivarian Caracas, this socialist Caracas, to debate on these challenges and threats. Today, when we see that the imperialism that so many times we have denounced, and that we see that fascism that we have combated and denounced, and the neoliberalism that tries to be activated and invade and domain that new world, we see it emerge, and so that's why our voices have to be stronger, more intense, to guide us. And so from here, from this Caracas, from this Venezuela homeland, we have been waging a struggle for many years. We are a country that have had the joy, the bliss, or the fate of living in a country that has the largest reserves of oil. We are a country that have over 300,000 billions of oil barrels, and so we are a country that 200 years ago had the bliss of counting on the leadership of Liberator Simón Bolívar, with the guideline of great thinkers, men and women, as the great Miranda and Antonio José de Sucre, that were born in this land, and so started from this land to liberate a whole continent and promote a new doctrine of liberation, of freedom, of sovereignty, of independence, that marked a whole generation and still marks us today. And this Bolivarian doctrine, we carried the doctrine on our blood, on our thought, beyond the condition of a country possessing the greatest reserve, the greatest natural reserves of the world. We are sure that our principal condition, our main condition, is of being a sovereign, fighting, combative country that has allowed us all over these years to face the worst of the aggressions that this republic has suffered in over 200 years that we've got as in existing. So the president Nicolás Maduro has been a leader that has been suffering all kinds of aggressions, as I told you. Not only the economic blockade, which is pretty enough, but sabotage to our oil industry, so appropriation of assets overseas, also assassination attempts to undermine, to change the social order, terrorism. So we have been going through a lot here in Venezuela in the last 10 years, and in the last decade we could say that the promulgation of that evil executive order of the then President Barack Obama against Venezuela, that we were a threat against their security. So there have been a lot all over these years, and in these latest 10 years from the decree of U.S. President Obama. And so our people have been resilient. Our people has been resilient with the leadership of our President Nicolás Maduro, and so our people has shown their strength, their revolutionary awareness, and so we have been done all this by ourselves without possibilities or few possibilities that our voice could be heard in the world. But that resistance has allowed us today that our voice be heard today, and it has allowed to win and to start a new era of economic offensive, social, political offensive, democratic offensive, because a democracy that is constantly perfecting, not only with elections but also with popular participation, as our constitution stipulates that our democracy must be a participatory and protagonist democracy. That protagonism, we have made it real today. That's why we could go out to the streets and say it. We have ended 2 electoral processes on July 27th, and one to elect mayors, but also it was an extraordinary day of the people, in which the people elected the youth projects to be executed in their communes, in their communities. That's the Venezuela that we are just building, and that's the Venezuela that we asked you to show in the world. You have toured all Caracas streets, and some have visited the other places, and so you could have noticed and speak to the people and ask the people their problems, their realities, their challenges, their fears, and you were able to check what it is really like, the revolution that brings peace, prosperity, welfare, and that it has been raised in the world as an example of sovereignty, of bravery, with a leader that is our President Nicolás Maduro Moro, and that give us the possibility to have a position in the world of defense of these values that are being threatened today in the world. Not only in the example of the Palestinian cause, but also in all the aggressions in Western Asia or Middle East. As we all know, the aggressions toward Iran, precisely I would like to greet especially colleague, or well, all of you journalists, Sahar Mami, who is from the Islamic Republic of Iran, and that Sahar Mami became a symbol of the struggle of all communicators to bring the truth, to tell the truth amid a brutal aggression. The bravery of Sahar El-Mami is the bravery of all journalists and all communicators of the world that have fallen. Hundreds have been fallen in Palestine, murdered. They have fallen in our land, there, next to us in Colombia. Reporters, communicators murdered, killed, that are just silenced in the whole world. And so today we have to tell the truth, and Venezuela is the platform for all of us to tell the truth. We just put all our services to do that, and on behalf of President Nicolás Maduro, I welcome you all, and we ask you, we invite you precisely to a great alliance that we could create between communicators, men and women, from classical, conventional media outlets or alternative outlets, social media, and the influencers of different platforms, to be able to tell the truth, for our truth be heard, be listened to, and not only the truth of Venezuela, but it's the truth of the peoples, the African peoples, Asian peoples, Latin American peoples, Caribbean peoples, Afro-descendant people, the truth of women, the ones that fight for a fairer world, for a more comfortable, protected environment. And that truth could just overcome the lies manufactured, created by transnationals that are just tools of that domain imperialism, that are the service of fascism, as we have seen recently in our Latin America. Fascist governments that raised in Ecuador and Argentina, that have developed powerful media apparatus that are capable of vindicating the fascist values in a public way, that are capable to promote xenophobia, that are capable of promoting exclusion, killings, domination. And so they use for it, they are all woven technological tools, military tools of communication. It is a battle that we have to wage, and that Commander Chavez was always very accurate by identifying sooner in the Bolivarian Revolution that was the main battle that we have to wage. So today we are here to celebrate, and that as of this forum we could build that alliance, that communication network, to be able to tell the truth, that that our Bolivarian revolution is being built with children, youth, in universities, schools, factories, fields, in which every day there occurred marvelous things of popular participation, of growth, of construction, of alternatives, and that the great media always try to silence, because Venezuela could not be that bad example for the rest of the world, that the root of sovereignty is the only path for the prosperity of the peoples. So I want to conclude with a battle that we are just waging, and that we need that we all get a single direction, which is to claim, denounce the kidnapping of Venezuelan children that today happened in the United States. 33 Venezuelan children, boys and girls, that have been separated from their families, and so it is another example of the hate of all the plots against Venezuela, that which is not enough to attack our oil refineries, our financial resources, but they have attacked the people, the migrant people of Venezuela, hitting childhood, which is the one that hurts the most, violating all international laws, and this has to be denounced. President Nicolás Maduro managed to rescue from a mega prison and a concentration camp and torture 252 compatriots that arrived a few days ago to Caracas, and so we have repatriated over 8,000 Venezuelan migrants that have been deported from the United States, and we have brought them back with our planes, with sanctioned planes, but we have brought them back to our homeland, and they have been reincorporated in the social life because they are needed here, that workforce. But now there have been a new practice to kidnap children, boys and girls, separated them, so they separated them from their families, and this occurs with the complicity of those great media corporations in the world. So we ask your support to be able to denounce this reality that is applied in Venezuela, but they are just wanting to apply it in all countries, and they are just threatening different countries of the world. Partners of other countries from Latin America and Africa, that they are being threatened to impose stigmatization and persecution of their citizens if they do not comply with their orders. So this has to be one of the main causes of the communicational fight. So we ask you urgently that this alliance being created today in this forum could address all these paramount issues of humanity, because we are certain that we are able to win, to triumph, as Palestine will be free, sovereign. The peoples of the world, global peoples, will fight for our sovereignty and freedom. Thank you very much, partners. I wish you on this forum that we could advance and take actions in a positive and organizative way of victories of the truth and the voices of the new world that today race and Venezuela is at the lead to support you all. Thank you.
We were listening live the statements of the Foreign Minister of Venezuela, Ivan Hill, as he was addressing the opening and welcoming all the participants that will take part in this forum of the Voices of the New World that centers on the communication aspects on the war, on the battle that is being fought in that field to counteract the hegemonic narrative that is imposed on the world by the Western powerful medias, a forum that aims to discuss and to tackle all these issues and create methods and alliances to be able to face and challenge this hegemonic narrative and to be able to tell the truth of the sovereign peoples of the global south and beyond to the world and bring back that fight and bring that independence and sovereignty back to the people. We want to stay tuned with Caracas to know everything that is happening and developing in that forum, so stay tuned with teleSUR English to have more updates on that event. The platform administration considers them unwanted for any kind of reason. The pretext that is used to justify such actions, in general rule of thumb, is the struggle against the fake news. But who decides what something is false or not? The same corporations that own these digital platforms, of course. In other cases, they talk about the so-called the violations of the terms of use of the social media. At the same time, the red lines that cannot be crossed are not clearly defined, and also they don't always correspond to common sense. Some other times, the reason for a blockade are the restrictive measures imposed by a particular or several governments against a concrete media, which is a clear act of censorship. When it's not a blockade, it's something. Is other ways to complicate the work, and I mean to these tools that are called as algorithms that make it possible for a product to be visible to the users. The algorithms are not only used to help the user for him or her to receive the elements that in which, but they are actually instruments to control the public opinions. Us in the Russian media, we face all kinds of restrictive measures like the one I've just described, and sometimes we say we are the most censored media in the world because with the passing of time we are the ones that have the most restrictions, and we must understand that we are not and will never be the only one, because the communication media of any country that has a policy, independent policy, editorial policy, are not immune to these kind of measures. And so, for some years we have seen like the then Twitter mark the accounts of Cuba Debate as a media affiliated with the government of Cuba. We saw the case of blockades against the teleSUR accounts, and our colleagues in Nicaragua also reported the case of blocking of its content under a formal pretext that behind we could see the political reasons. However, we won't paint it all black, and from this part of my speech, I'm going from the challenges to the solutions. In relation to what we just said, we can define two possible strategies of interaction with social platforms that are not exclusive among themselves and can be combined. The first, the most ambitious, is to seek or create alternative platforms that have user policies that are truly democratic, and it's easier to do it together, joining forces in a complex task, because the platform must be attractive for the users, but it's not impossible, and we have been doing this already in other parts of the world, in the global south, or how we say in Russia, in the majority of the world, because due to geography it's very difficult to be called as a part of the south.
We could not put up that the West decides who's the good one and who's the bad one, who's gonna have nuclear bombs or not, and who's gonna drop bombs on countries or not. That's the kind of things that we cannot allow, and So he's just dynamitizing the basis, the foundations of international coexistence. So while the principle of sovereignty of the state and the territorial integrity are under the regulations. NATO just invaded Kosovo. And so in the case of Donbass, and they just come to justify on the national integrity, because the Ukrainian people are the good ones for them. So the one that first are terrorists, they stopped being it, as the case of the Muslims, when they just right now want to damage China. And the case of Sahel, all sovereign countries must face terrorist actions with intelligence coming from Ukraine, that is NATO. But when Russia supported the legitimate government of Syria, they were accused of dissidency. And so Netanyahu has been killing 60,000 killings, and they have been under the arrest order, and there have been no action to arrest him. And so we saw what it happened when they raised that they proposed to put nuclear weapons on Cuba, and so they are just always taking positions on conflicts. They just include double standards, as omissions, unequal testimonies, thousands ways of manipulating. So they just put on the same balance the Palestinian victim with the ones of that drop bombs, the imprisonment with the due legal process that as he was intending to make a coup d'etat in Venezuela, and those who were kidnapped in El Salvador. So we must face the double standards and say who's the victim and who is the perpetrator. So if we don't have a heart, and we are not humans, and if we are not humans, we could not report. And the last thing, our government, our journalism needs demand and veracity. And so we are not talking about activism, but we must convince showing the truth, not hate or rage, as it must be understandable the way that we show light to the people. But we must manage the appropriate data, the calm arguments, and that's not that's a different front line. We cannot leave the greatest media outlets, the powerful journalists, the speech that they are objective, impartial, and demanding. But our objective is the justice of our peoples. But the objective reporters are not. If we don't sell to power and we accept the empire of our values, is because we are the independent ones. And so
every year, several Cuban cultural institutions organize a wide range of recreational options for the month of July and August, coinciding with the school break. From Havana, Eric Mendez with the details.
Dicen que Cuba es un eterno verano.
People say that Cuba is an eternal summer. However, in the months of July and August, when temperatures rise, cultural options multiply. Located in one of the most central areas of Havana, the Cuba Pavilion bears witness to this. During the summer season, this space becomes a favorite for the whole family, especially for the youngest members of the family.
It was very nice here. I liked it very much. I want all the children to come to the fair.
Come here to the fair, because this place is a lot of fun, and it is our passion to play together.
Yes, I made a new friend. He's laughing over there with the cats.
This is a lot of fun for the kids and I like it.
Cada año, la Feria de la Cultura Cubana.
Every year, the Cuban Culture Fair, Art on the Ramp, becomes one of the main options for the enjoyment of the residents of Havana and those who visit the city during these days.
Sobre el escenario están no solo los artistas.
On the stage are not only established artists, but also the youngest ones. teleSUR's visit coincided with the presentation of a dance company made up of girls between 3 and 12 years of age.
Entre 3 y 12 años de edad.
It just so happens that today is the one-year anniversary of the founding of my youth ballet. We just premiered it here at the Art on the Ramp, an invitation from the Cuban Fund for Cultural Goods. I am very grateful to all of them for having us here, and well, all this gives us the opportunity to be seen by a wider public and to move to other places in the city.
Art on
the Ramp is also a space for traditions. Every week, the fair allows peasant music to take over the city center.
Se apodere del centro de la ciudad.
In the pavilion, such an important center for Havana, to demonstrate that traditions are still alive, especially in children and young people. This is very good. It has been a long time since something like this was done. The last time something like this was done was in 2002.
It is a way to keep the tradition alive, the country music. It is also a way to pay homage to Tomasita, an icon of the Cuban music.
En su edición 24,
the Art on the Ramp Fair becomes not only a showcase for Cuban culture, but also a space for the whole family to enjoy. A cultural oasis to escape, for a while, from the heat of the Caribbean summer.
Del calor del verano caribeño. Eric Méndez, teleSUR, La Habana.
A powerful 8.8 magnitude earthquake has triggered a series of tsunami warnings and evacuation orders across Japan, the west coast of the United States and parts of the Pacific after shaking the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia. The earthquake was the strongest in the region since 1952, according to the Russian Academy of Sciences. It occurred at a depth of 19.3 kilometers and had its epicenter 126 kilometers east-southeast of Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky, a city located in Avasha Bay. In this context, a tsunami between 3 and 4 meters high was recorded in some areas of Kamchatka, according to Sergei Lebedev, Regional Minister of Emergency Situations, with reports of several injuries. In addition, the U.S. Tsunami Warning System issued a warning of dangerous tsunami wave in the coming hours on some coasts of Russia, Japan, Alaska, and Hawaii. And tsunami wave nurtured by the most powerful earthquake that has occurred in Russia since 1952 reached up to 5 meters in that territory. While Japan and the United States report wave of between 1 and 2 meters, so far, no fatalities have been reported. Russia, Japan, the United States, and Guam issued urgent evacuation orders from coastal areas after the powerful 8.8 earthquake that shook Kamchatka. The Kuril Islands were impacted by strong waves, power outages, and several aftershocks. Meanwhile, Hokkaido was the first Japanese city to receive the wave impact. Those over 900,000 people were evacuated, as well as all workers at the Fukushima nuclear power plant. Likewise, the U.S. territories of Hawaii and Alaska reported a wave of up to 2 meters. In addition, dangerous currents and sea level rises are expected in New Zealand, the Philippines, Guam, Canada, and Australia.